ask that you try really hard not to interrupt if someone's speaking to you, and they will do the same. They'll try not to interrupt you when you're speaking, even if you think you know the answer. That way we can get everybody's comments nice and clean. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter.
Stand by. You're rolling.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Al Miller. I'm the project manager for the project which is being presented this evening. I am assigned to the project management section, which is located at the Massachusetts Department of Transportation's Highway Division headquarters in Boston. I was directed by the Chief Engineer, Patricia Leavenworth, to conduct tonight's hearing. Once the hearing is completed this evening, the attendance sheet will become a part of the public record for the hearing. So if you'd like your attendance at the hearing to be part of the public record, please sign in on the sign-in sheet located to my left. Handouts containing details regarding this project are next to the sign-in sheet. First, I'd like to introduce the members of the hearing panel. To my immediate left is Ms. Karen Axtell from our Right-of-Way Bureau. Beside her is sitting Ms. Paula Simmons from the District 2 office. And on the far left is Mr. Michael Myers, PE. He's the project engineer from the design consultant firm of TEC, working for Mass DOT. To my far right is Mr. Walter Montani of Arlington Typing and Mailing, Arlington, Mass. And he'll be making a verbatim transcript of tonight's hearing. The notice of the public hearing appeared in the Republican and the Daily Hampshire Gazette, both on September 30th and October 7th of this year, and you can see that in the brochure. Page 8 of the handout explains the project purpose. This hearing gives us an opportunity to make a formal presentation of the proposal, and at the same time allows us to record your input regarding this project. Federal aid funding, with the Federal Highway Administration funding 100% of the total construction costs, provided that this project is programmed in the Statewide Transportation Improvement Program in the appropriate federal fiscal year, of which it is. The total estimated cost of the project is approximately $1 million. This does not include any right-of-way acquisition costs. The design is expected to be completed this coming winter, and construction is anticipated to commence in the summer of 2016. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Karen Axtell from our right-of-way section to explain the right-of-way procedure.
Thank you. Good evening. When the Commonwealth, acting through its Massachusetts Department of Transportation Highway Division, indicated it would accept this roughly $1 million project for funding under our Safe Routes to School program, your municipality accepted certain responsibilities. One of those responsibilities is to acquire all the necessary rights in private and public lands for the design, construction, and implementation of the project. My function is to review and recommend procedures that your municipality will utilize in acquiring these rights. The procedures used must comply with both federal and state regulations. The current design plans indicate that no fee acquisitions or permanent easements will be required. Currently, 13 temporary construction easements or rights of entry will be required. Your municipality may acquire the needed rights through a combination of donations, eminent domain, deed grants, permits, or rights of entry. Frequently, local municipalities will appeal for donations. Donation procedures minimize the acquisition cost for your community. Donations and rights of entry are not required, however, and property owners are entitled to an appraisal and just compensation. This project cannot be advertised until the new proposed right-of-way is secured and the Right-of-Way Bureau issues a right-of-way certificate. Affected property owners' rights are protected under our Massachusetts general laws, primarily Chapter 79, and because this project is receiving federal funds, the property owner's rights are further defined under Title III of the Real Property Acts of 1970 as amended. I'll happy to answer any questions during the general open forum of the meeting, and I'll be here as long as anyone needs me to answer any specific right-of-way questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Mr. Mike Myers from TEC will describe the project in detail for you. I ask that you hold your questions until he completes his presentation.
Thanks, Al. Good evening. As Mel mentioned, my name is Mike Myers from TEC. We're Mass DOT's design consultant for this project. Tonight's meeting is very important. It's a very critical part of the design development process because it gives us an opportunity for public outreach. Wish we had some more here. But it's a chance for us to present the plans and obtain feedback and incorporate it into the design as we move forward. I see some members of the principals here, so any feedback you have, anything you see, it'd be great to, for us to have the opportunity to roll it into the design moving forward and make sure that your feedback is incorporated. Safe Routes to School, in case you're not familiar with it, it's a federally funded program. It's essentially a grant to the town of Southampton, and its main goal is to make it safer for kids to walk and bike to school. The William E. Norris School, located north of the intersection of Palmero and Route 10. It's not just the kids that walk and bike to school, but we also want to make it a more attractive mode of transportation so that we can encourage more kids to walk and bike to school. With those goals in mind, we start off the planning process by taking a look at the William E. Norris School and then a 1 mile radius around the school. In the town of Southampton, very rural community, so you're going to see a lot of red on this map, which symbolizes areas where there's no sidewalk infrastructure today. However, we do have a nice run of green sidewalk along the side that the school is located on Palmero Road. So for us, scoping this was fairly simple. We saw a dense residential area to the south of the school. We also have the Country View Garden Apartments. So with all of those residencies located to the south, we saw a great opportunity to provide infrastructure along College Way that will tie into the sidewalks along Palmero Road heading up to the school. So that's the essential scope of the improvements that you'll see tonight. And these plans here depict them in a little bit more detail. The scope is very straightforward. When we first looked at this project as part of the planning document that we worked with the school and the town on, the planning document was endorsed by the Board of Selectmen. When we first looked at this, we looked at a 5-foot wide sidewalk along the north side of College Highway. However, at that time, Mass DOT was going through a process of putting out a new directive called the Healthy Transportation Policy. And it requires us as consultants to take a really hard look at bike lanes and sidewalks. That means 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of the road and bike lanes on both sides of the road. When we looked at that, we looked at doing a 5-foot sidewalk along the south side to complement the one on the north. The problem with that option is that you have the intersection of Palmero Road located on a curve to Route 10, which is a very dangerous place to have kids walk along the south and cross up to the school. So we didn't really like that option. Same situation with bicycles. If you had a bike lane along the south side and you had students riding their bikes down Palmero, trying to get them over to that bike lane on the south side would be a real challenge at this intersection. So we worked with Lou Rubito in Boston, and we scoped out a 10-foot wide multi-use path along the north side of Route 10. What that does is it allows us enough space for bikes and peds in both directions. So we have a 10-foot wide asphalt sidewalk running from Palmero all the way down to Park Place. Basically, the way that'll be constructed is you'll take the edge of the road out there today. Contractor will go in, saw cut the edge, and he'll install a 6-inch high granite curb, then a grass buffer, and then the 10 feet of sidewalk. So you'll have a nice separation from the vehicles and the bikes and peds out there. As I mentioned, one of the goals was to try and tie into these dense residential areas to the south. So what we've provided is a short sidewalk link on Helen Drive and Lynn Drive with some pedestrian crossings. These pedestrian crossings, you'll see a little blow up here, and you'll actually see one just to the south on Route 10. I noticed driving in here. It's a pedestrian flashing assembly. The most important thing about these is they don't flash all the time for 2 reasons. One, it's going to drive these neighbors crazy, having flashing lights going 24/7. And 2, you don't want motorists getting used to seeing flashing all the time. You want them to see the lights dark and then flashing only when pedestrians are present. They're activated by a push button. They run for about 30 seconds, and then they shut off. So there'll be one located at Helen Drive, Lynn Drive, and then we also have one over at Park Place, which would allow us to transition bicyclists across the road and then head to the east. So that's essentially the scope of the design. Construction right now is probably scheduled for the 2017 season. With construction, there'll be some temporary construction easements that grant the contractor some access at the back of the sidewalk just to do some minor slope work and tie in at the back of the sidewalk. That's essentially it though.
Great, thanks, Mike. The plans presented tonight are not complete. The next step will be to review the comments received this evening, then amend and complete the plans for advertising and eventual construction. Before we open the hearing to you, I'll explain the hearing procedure. First, as stated previously, the purpose of this hearing is to solicit your input regarding this project. As the plans are not yet complete, we may not be able to answer all of your questions at this time or respond to all of your comments. Next, we ask that anyone who wishes to have his or her comments entered into the official hearing transcript, please stand up, go to the lectern, identify yourself by name and affiliation, whether you're in a butter, a local official, or a concerned citizen, and spell your last name. This is necessary in order for us to obtain a full verbatim transcript as required by law. Also, the last sheet in the handout is a mail-in sheet. If you have any questions or comments which you'd like to submit in writing, please use the sheet for that purpose. You may leave the sheet with me tonight, or you may mail it into the department within 10 days of this date, and it will become part of the official record. Finally, it is normal procedure to ask elected officials to offer their comments first. Are there any federal officials who would like to speak at this time? Seeing none. Are there any state officials who would like to speak at this time? Seeing none. Are there any local officials who would like to speak at this time? This hearing is now open to the public, and we welcome your questions and comments. Sir, you mentioned something about a water main.
Yeah, I'm on the Southampton Water Commission.
Please step right up to the lectern.
I'm Jim Walunas, I'm on the Southampton Water Commission. We just have a concern about, we have a very old asbestos concrete water line under where the sidewalk's gonna go in the vicinity,
Do you know the diameter
6 inch.
and the age?
I think it's 1940s. And it's the cheaper asbestos concrete, the one that's always breaking. There's 11 breaks in it, and it tends to break every other year. So we just,
In this vicinity?
yes. And it runs from Pomeroy Meadow all the way down to Hillside, I believe.
Do you know the depth?
No. We don't know the exact location either.
I'm
We
sorry,
have-
what was that?
I can add a little more to that. The depth is typically about 5 feet. We had a utility meeting back in the spring with the district office, all the utility companies. We do have a series of utility poles that will be reset along the north side to get them out of the path. Right now, we have approximate location of the water line and gas line. So we do need to have those mark out the utility poles and coordinate that with the district to make sure that we are not impacting the gas line or the water line.
We kind of like to coordinate replacement with it, with this job, if we can come up with funding to do it. So,
We typically would, applaud that effort and also encourage it to happen before we actually get out there. Mike mentioned construction season maybe in 17. I'd like to actually be optimistic and say we might start in late 16. Do you have capital funds set aside for that type of a replacement?
so we'd have to come up with a plan, but we just wanted to make sure that you knew that it was there and that
We appreciate that.
we were interested in doing something with it, if we could. Okay?
Excuse me, sir, would you spell your last name, please?
Walunas.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the school administration have any comments, suggestions, accolades?
Craig Jurgensen, School Superintendent, Jurgensen. Just wanted to thank you for coming. I think when we met in sometime last spring, there was a lot of enthusiasm for this project, especially for getting kids safely to school, for reducing our dependence on school buses, and just for keeping our kids healthier. So thank you for being here, and I hope this works out. And if we can do anything, please let us know.
Super, thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, is there anything you want to add to the, do you want to talk about the schedule going forward?
Schedules, yeah. Schedule going forward, there's a 10-day public comment period. That's standard. And then we'll submit our next submission shortly after that. It's called the 100% submission. Not to be confused with the final submission. We still have one more. That's going to be the final PS&E. So, I mean, I'd say we're on track. We do have town meeting that we have to hit. So, shortly after town meeting.
Do we know what the town meeting date is? Spring?
It's always in the spring. I don't know. Is it in May? Do you have a May date?
It's a late May.
Late May, all right.
I'm sorry, sir, I can't hear you if you're not at a mic.
Town meeting is generally in late May. It's not, we have some earlier meetings, but I think it's on the June end of May. June? It's around there, later May, I believe.
And do you know when the warrant closes?
It'll be 2 weeks before, probably.
It'll probably be before 2 weeks, but I can check on that and get back to you if you'd like.
That'd be
happy
great,
to-
Craig, I
sure.
appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, the town meeting is critical.
Okay.
What that's going to do is that's going to authorize your Board of Selectmen to sign off on the order taking for 12 temporary easements? 13 temporary easements, essentially all located, most of them located along the north side, and we got one on Helen Drive. Businesses, a couple private residences. What we'll do is once we submit the 100% plans, we'll set up a meeting. Karen and I will come meet with Heather, the town council, and we'll start talking about trying to seek donation for those temporary easements. They do have a right to compensation, so if they aren't donated, then we go through an appraisal process after town meeting that pushes it out to like an August, September ad date. If we get donations, the design, we're on track to advertise sooner, towards the beginning of summer.
Just to throw this out there, it's also possible to have a special town meeting vote the authority to the select board for this project. So because the plans are advanced to the stage that they are, it could be possible to do it that way before the late May town meeting date.
Back to the schedule, Mike. Anticipate the 100% PS&E in about 4 to 6 weeks?
Oh, 4 weeks.
Okay, right around Turkey Day. Not that this is a turkey, this is the just dessert. Does the district have any comments? Okay. Well, if there are no other questions or comments, I'd like to remind you that the last sheet of the handout is a mail-in sheet, and if you know folks that couldn't make it, you can take a couple with you. If you have any further questions or comments which you'd like to submit, please use that sheet for that purpose. You may leave the sheet with me tonight, or you may mail it to the department within 10 days of this date, and it will become part of the official record. Before I close this hearing, I would like to say that we will be here as long as you are interested in looking at the plans, and we'll try to respond to questions that affect you personally. Thank you very much for attending and for providing us with this facility. I declare this hearing closed.
Can you give me a time?
The time is 6:20 p.m.
Thank you.